How do you see right now, Scott? Do you think that the position of Donald Trump and his administration would be the same as we saw with Joe Biden and his administration, or they're going to do some important changes in their attitude in Ukraine?
Well, you have to keep in mind that the advisors to Donald Trump come from the same stock as the advisors that advised Joe Biden and advised Barack Obama before him, advised Donald Trump during his first administration. These are Russophobic minded people whose singular goal is the destruction of Russia. Straight up simple. They will not accept anything that allows Russia to emerge victorious, even if that victory doesn't infringe on the United States or anything that enhances Russia's stature. This is a purely zero-sum game. Anything that's good for Russia is bad for the United States in the minds of these people. And so long as they advise Donald Trump, that'll be the policy set that they put in. Look, President Putin was being very diplomatic. Lavrov wasn't. Let's just make it as clear as possible. Russia went to war in Ukraine because of Ukraine's potential of becoming a NATO nation. Russia's winning that war. Russia's not going to allow Ukraine ever to be a member of NATO, ever. It's not on the books. It's a waste of time to even discuss it. So anybody in the Trump administration that's putting forward a plan that's postulated on some eventual Ukrainian membership is, as President Putin said accurately, if they're not ready now, that means that you're going to get them ready. And then what happens when they are ready? And Russia's not going to let that happen. So I think, Donald Trump, it appears, recognizes that his plan is in trouble. And so he made a statement the other day that said that basically it's all speculation until he meets with Vladimir Putin. And it's going to be one of the shortest meetings ever, because Putin, there's not going to be any, Trump staring him in the eyes and giving him the Joe Biden, you're evil thing, all that nonsense. It's going to be Trump saying, hey, what about, and Putin will say, no. What about, no. What about, no. And Putin just said, what part of we won the war don't you understand? And if you want to be part of the losing side, you have a chance in history right now to get yourself out of this mess. But if you want to double down on stupid, pour good money after bad, feel free, because we're winning and we're not going to lose. We're willing to put everything into this. What are you willing to put in? And Trump doesn't have an answer to that because Trump's not ready to put everything into it. So I think eventually Trump will have to make some hard decisions that will run against the grain of his Russophobic advisors. But it's either that or just continue this failed policy. Nothing is going to stop Russia from winning this war. There's not enough money. There's not enough military equipment. NATO doesn't have the ability to meaningfully intervene. So nothing's going to stop Russia from winning this war. And that's the hard truth that Donald Trump's going to have to confront. Trump knows that there's two very weak links in the American national security fabric right now. One is Ukraine. He needs to jettison this Ukrainian problem. This has cost America hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's weakened us globally. He needs to jettison that. And he also needs to put NATO on ice. NATO is an organization that's outlived its usefulness. It was a valid, viable organization during the Cold War. Since then, it's become an expansive extension of American imperial hegemony. And I think Trump recognizes that he needs to start focusing on, the things that keep America, relevant in the world today, and not have these parasitic problems attach themselves to America. NATO is a parasite, sucks the lifeblood out of the United States, and Ukraine is the same thing. So Trump, I think, will eventually make the right decision, but it'll be politically difficult for him.
I think right now, as Poon mentioned in this video, their main doubt is what would come with the new administration, because we know that Donald Trump is pretty much straightforward. He says what he wants. But the administration, Keith Kellogg and all those people that are going to make some sort of policies toward Ukraine and toward Russia, what type of leverage do they have on Donald Trump, in your opinion? Is that going to be Donald Trump at the end of the day deciding about that? Right now, it seems to me that it's not clear in the mind of Russians what would happen. That's why they don't know the leverage these people have on Donald Trump, how Donald Trump would be strong to make the decision at the end of the day.
I don't think the Russians give a damn about Donald Trump. They don't care. They really don't. The notion that Russia's holding on for a miracle. We're holding on by our fingertips. We just got to hang in there a little bit longer, guys, till Donald Trump comes in and saves the day. That's the world according to Donald Trump. Russia's like, we don't care. Donald Trump is an American president, and all American presidents are the same. We don't have any artificial expectations here. We don't, we're not holding out hope. We'll see what he has to say, but we don't care. Our policy remains the same. And that's the Russian approach right now. They just don't care. I mean, they're not holding, they're not, first of all, they're not struggling. The notion that Russia is, oh God, we got to hold on, guys. Hold on, man. Cavalry's coming. Trump ain't the cavalry. It's not for Russia. So no, this is, Americans, we're so egocentric. We believe that the world revolves around us. So somehow many Americans have bought into the notion that Trump is going to save Russia from this problem that is good. Trump believes that too. This war should never have happened. It wouldn't have happened had I been president. Wrong answer, Donald Trump. Russia doesn't care about you because you don't know anything about Russia. I mean, the moment the United States actually can sit down at the table and speak intelligently, the moment they can bring somebody like a Jack Matlock, former ambassador to the Soviet Union, to the table instead of bringing idiots like Michael McFaul. Michael McFaul, the Russians just tuned out the Obama administration, said, we're done. You're static noise. We don't listen. Jack Matlock had to listen. Intelligent conversation, knowledgeable. We have to bring somebody of that caliber to the table for the Russians to listen to. Donald Trump's not it. And the Russians will listen to him, but Donald Trump has to understand, and somebody really needs to sit down and whisper him that the best way to solve this thing is to shut up and just get the hell out of there with minimal fuss. If you try to posture, sometimes, when you step into a pile of dog poop and you walk into somebody's home, the best thing to do is turn around and walk out. But Donald Trump's going to sit there, look down and go, oh, I stepped in dog poop. It stinks. I'm going to scrape my shoe here and I'm going to, no, Donald, you're just spreading it around. You can't repair what has been done. NATO and the United States has lost in Ukraine. You're not going to walk out of this with your head held high. You have dog poop on your shoe. Leave the house. That's the best solution for Donald Trump right now. And the sooner he recognizes that, the less they talk about it. Make Ukraine a non-issue. Just unplug and leave. Watch how quickly the world forgets about Ukraine, because Ukraine is as irrelevant as the day is long. Nobody cares about Ukraine. It's only relevant because Western politicians make it so. If you stop talking about it, no one cares. Literally, nobody cares about the Ukrainians. If they did, this would be a far different conflict. If we truly cared about tens of millions of people suffering, from the ravages of war, we do something. Europe's kicking the Ukrainian refugees out, sending them back to a land where there is no heat and electricity because they don't care. We allow a war to continue that has, by some counts, 1.1 million dead soldiers. We don't care. As soon as people realize that, it just becomes clear. The best way to stop stinking up the house is get the dog poop out of the house. People clean up afterwards, but you don't have to announce it. You don't have to say anything. Ukraine is dog poop on the shoe of America. Get it out of the house, scrape it off, clean your shoe, and don't talk about it ever again. That's the best way out of this problem. It's a banderist regime that is despicable. It's a bloodthirsty regime that doesn't care about its own people, and it's an aberration to humanity. And the best way, the most humane solution, again, I know I get in trouble, but I don't care. Atticus Finch, To Kill a Mockingbird, rabid dog in the street, shoot the dog. Ukraine is a rabid dog in society, in humanity today. Shoot the dog, shoot it, get it done with, because otherwise it's going to bite things and make everybody else sick. I know people are going to say, that's cruel, you can't say that. Come up with a better solution. I mean, one that didn't cost Ukraine 1.1 million dead soldiers. Come up with a better solution, you idiots. I mean, I spit in the face of these people. Oh, you allowed a war to go on to kill 1.1 million Ukrainian soldiers. You allowed it. You made it happen. Russia didn't want this. Russia did everything to avoid this. You in the West made this happen. Shoot the dog.
Do you think that the people who are going to work with Donald Trump and Donald Trump himself, they're going to accept the interpretation of the data, the intelligence data coming from the Biden administration, or they're going to get the raw data and they're going to decide about how they're going to interpret those intelligence informations or data that coming from Ukraine? Because this is a huge change for the decisions on the part of the Donald Trump and his administration.
It doesn't matter. Whatever data they use, it doesn't matter. Your question implies that Donald Trump has a vote, that Donald Trump has a say, that Donald Trump matters. He doesn't matter in any of this. He thinks he matters, but he's already walked away from the magic phone call. Remember, I'm one phone call, I can stop this war. You can't, Donald Trump. Russia doesn't care about you. You're a buffoon. Stop being a buffoon, start becoming a serious man, and Russia may care about you. But the first thing to do to become a serious man is get good data. Okay, you have Tulsi Gabbard. Get her in as the director of national intelligence. Make that happen. Then turn to her and say, get me the good stuff. Okay, I'm not here with an agenda. I want the good stuff. Your best analyst. Don't spin it for me. You're not here to sell me a policy. I want the good stuff straight from the hip. The good stuff. But what's happened is the intelligence community's gotten so used to feeding presidents who say Russia must be bad. Imagine if somebody came in and said, boss, Russia's not a threat to us. Not at all. Russia's not going to invade Europe. The Russian military is sized appropriately for its own defensive needs. The troops that they've brought on since 2022 are solely because of NATO expansion and the conflict in Ukraine. If NATO were to be part of a rethinking of European security framework, such as the Russians proposed in their December 17, 2021 treaties, draft treaties, we could probably see the Russian military downsizing to a level that would be equivalent to what existed in 2021, which we didn't deem as a threat to Europe. That's the truth. That's the truth. Mr. President, the Russian defense industry right now, is heavily engaged in producing strategic nuclear deterrent forces. But this is a huge commitment of resources to Russia. If we were to take a realistic look at our needs for strategic deterrence, as opposed to continuing this policy of a preemptive nuclear strike, we could probably save couple $1 trillion over the next 30 years by just downsizing and limiting the modernization to that which is essential, and work with the Russians to bring arms control back into the mix. But Mr. President, we have to approach this from the standpoint of parity. It has to be mutually acceptable. We have to understand that we need to make some fundamental changes in our nuclear doctrine, because the concept of America being nuclear dominant is over. And if we want to continue to pretend that we're nuclear dominant, then we'll be engaged in an arms race that we can't afford. We're not going to win, and probably result in a nuclear conflict where everybody dies. This kind of realistic conversation that needs to be had with Trump. And somebody has to tell Trump when he throws a temper tantrum and say, shut the up, President. Mr. President, stop throwing a temper tantrum. That ain't going to change it. You can fire me, but you hired me to tell you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And you losing your cool because the facts don't suit your fantasy is your problem, not my problem. I'm not going to change the intelligence to, calm you down. You got to be an adult about this. But nobody has that conversation. Nobody has that conversation. Everybody, oh, yes, Mr. President, what do you want to hear? Russia's bad? Oh, we got an analyst that'll tell you how bad Russia is. What do you want to hear? That their economy is weak? We got one that'll tell you that too. We got an analyst for anything you want. What do you want, Mr. President? We'll just shape the data to please you. And as a result, we get bad policy. Because the only way you can sustain the rules-based international order logically is to lie to yourself. Lie to yourself about how relevant you are. Lie to yourself how powerful you are. Lie to yourself about how what you're doing is changing the world to suit your needs. But it's not. You know, we create this Potemkin village of data, and as soon as it collapses, you see the awful reality. And you know, somebody needs to be honest with this president, and the president has to be, you know, man enough to hear the truth and then adapt accordingly.
We are hearing from Keith Kellogg and the Biden administration that they want to put Ukraine in a better position for whatever comes next in terms of the conflict in Ukraine. But with the aid sending from the United States to Ukraine, and we know the situation with the Ukrainian army, what else can they do for Ukraine? I don't see any European countries being able to send their troops to Ukraine.
Nobody's sending troops. Stop talking about troops. It isn't going to happen. Troops is a major escalation that leads to a nuclear war.
Who's going to fight?
Well, no, it's not who's going to fight. Who's going to die? Again, find me a European country that knows how to die.